Today, we're uncovering 10 real smuggling operations. Cocaine dissolved inside a lava lamp. Meth hidden in marker pens. 86 drug packages carried inside a human body. And one traveler hiding a kilo of cocaine in the most desperate place imaginable. He wasn't at the exit. He wasn't at the declaration desk. He was just walking, slowly, in the customs area. Officers approached him, and that's when the encounter became something else entirely. They asked to conduct a frisk search. He refused. On principle, he said, his word should be enough. Officers escalated through the proper legal channels. A justice of the peace was involved, making the search a formal legal matter. Throughout it all, he held his ground, refused, objected, argued. And then a drug swab of his bag returned positive for cocaine. That changed the calculation. He agreed to the search. Hidden in his groin area, a tightly wrapped package. Inside that package, almost 1 kilogram of cocaine. Worth roughly $430,000 on the street. He had bet that refusal, that indignation, that performance of innocence would be enough to make officers back down. They didn't. He was charged by the Australian Federal Police. Of all the methods we've seen today, the false bottoms, the food items, the lamp, the pens, the swallowed packages, this one stands apart. Not for the sophistication of the concealment, but for the audacity of the gamble. He was willing to fight in plain sight. He just wasn't willing to win the right way. A parcel from India, declared as women's handbags and clothing. Inside, traditional garments, colorful bangles, cheap, glittering jewelry. Everything about it said, "This is a gift. This is harmless." Except for the 2 heart-shaped boxes sitting beneath all of it. The boxes were heavy, heavier than the decorative jewelry inside them could account for. Officers removed the so-called decorations and found something beneath. False wooden bottoms. Concealed inside gift boxes designed to look romantic, decorative, and innocent. 600 grams of methamphetamine total. Split between the 2 boxes. The traditional clothing was camouflage. The jewelry was distraction. The heart-shaped boxes were the cargo. He'd been in Thailand for 3 weeks. He came back with a bag of dirty laundry. And he couldn't stop yawning. To the untrained eye, yawning means tiredness. To a customs officer, yawning is a recognized indicator of nerves. The kind of involuntary response the body produces when someone is desperately trying to appear calm. X-rays picked up 4 glass vials. They weren't immediately obvious in a manual search. But once officers knew where to look, they went through every rolled-up sock, every piece of dirty clothing, until they found them. Nandrin, an anabolic steroid. The man admitted he had done it before, brought it in before, thought he could do it again. He was detained for prosecution. The yawning gave him away before the X-ray did. A Malaysian citizen, tourist Vasa, flight from Dubai. His luggage contained no clothing, not a shirt, not a pair of trousers, not a single personal item, just 4.5 kilograms of chocolate and alcohol. Officers also noticed something else the moment the bag was opened. A smell, a strong, foul odor. The kind that comes from one specific thing. It was consistent with fecal matter. The kind of smell associated with internal concealment, packages that had already been carried inside a human body. Officers opened the chocolate tins. They opened the Johnny Walker box. Inside, large yellow pellets. The pellets tested positive for cocaine. A body scan confirmed he was no longer carrying anything internally. Everything had already been transferred to the containers. He was handed to the Australian Federal Police for importing nearly 5 kilograms of the substance. No clothes, an overwhelming smell. Tins of chocolate on a tourist visa from Dubai. Every detail was wrong. He just hoped no one would add them up. Carlos Riviero Conde arrived from Buenos Aires. He told officers he was a surfer. Sydney is one of the world's great surf cities. It's a completely believable cover. There was just one problem. He couldn't name a single surf spot. When officers pressed him, basic questions about beaches, breaks, local conditions, he had nothing. An ion scan of his backpack returned high readings for cocaine. Carlos denied everything. Officers detained him for an internal examination, and what they found at the hospital changed the entire nature of the case. 86 small packages, each one swallowed, each one wrapped tight enough to survive the journey through his body. 430 grams of cocaine, carried inside him like a living vault. Carlos pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to prison. Of all the methods we cover today, this one carries a weight beyond just the criminal charge. Every one of those 86 packages was a calculated risk. One rupture, one leak. And this story would have ended very differently. He arrived from Shanghai, Canadian, traveling alone. And from the moment he stepped into the customs hall, something was off. He was nervous, visibly, unmistakably nervous. Officers pulled him aside and began asking questions. His answers were vague, evasive. He said a friend named Philip, someone he'd met on the internet from Guyana, had packed his bag, paid for his hotel. And inside the bag, brand new items. Female clothing. Jeans that clearly weren't his. The bag felt wrong from the moment the officer picked it up. Empty suitcases have a weight. This one felt like it was carrying more than empty. X-rays confirmed it. Dark spots along the lining. Dense, inconsistent areas at the base. A false bottom. Constructed inside the case. A hidden cavity, invisible to the naked eye. Ion scanning returned a strong positive reading. Methamphetamine, concealed in a false suitcase compartment. The man was handed to the Australian Federal Police. Philip from Guyana was never found. And the bag full of women's jeans told a story no one had bothered to think through before packing it. She arrived by sea, a British woman disembarking at White Bay Cruise Terminal in Sydney. Everything about her seemed unremarkable, until officers looked at what she was carrying. A large lava lamp. She had an explanation ready. She bought it on the island of Villa to replace one she had broken. A lamp belonging to her sister. A story. A reason. A justification for the unusual item. But lava lamps work on a simple principle. Brightly colored wax rising and falling through clear or vivid liquid. This lamp's liquid was brown, not transparent, not brightly colored. Brown. Officers ran 3 tests: electronic swabs, laser analysis, chemical acid testing. All 3 came back positive. Cocaine, dissolved and suspended in the liquid inside the lamp. Designed to look like a souvenir. Designed to look harmless. The brown color was the tell they never accounted for. She was arrested at the terminal. Not every smuggling attempt happens at the passenger terminal. Some come through the mail, A large parcel arrives from China. Declared contents: marker pens, routine, boring, easy to wade through. Except nothing about what's inside is routine. On the X-ray screen, the pens don't look right. Ink fills a cartridge in a smooth, consistent column. These showed fractures, crystalline inconsistencies, the signature of something solid packed inside a hollow casing. Officers dismantle the pens one by one. White crystals, every single pen. Field testing confirmed. Methamphetamine. Ice. Each pen containing between 10 and 15 grams of the drug. Multiple pens. A significant haul, all designed to look completely unremarkable. The perfect method. If the X-ray wasn't paying attention, it was. Colombia to Sydney. A male passenger arrives, and almost immediately, officers notice something. He is traveling with a woman. Same surname, nearly identical travel itinerary. They interview both. The woman is cleared. Her luggage, her liquid bottles, everything checks out. But the man's suitcase is a different story. He claims he bought the bag in Colombia after his original one fell apart. A simple explanation. Except, the suitcase is heavy. Unusually heavy for what he says is inside. Officers make a decision. They drill into the base. Inside, a thick, wet paste, sealed in plastic, hidden beneath a false base. It's dense, it's substantial, and it tests positive. Cocaine hydrochloride, confirmed by laser analysis at the scene. The man was taken into custody by the Australian Federal Police. The woman he traveled with, cleared. Whether she knew or didn't, the officers could find nothing to tie her to the concealment. But the man who just bought the bag, he carried his story all the way to the moment the drill bit hit the paste. A man lands in Sydney after a holiday in Vietnam. Nothing about him stands out, just another traveler with a bag full of food and gifts. But before he even reaches the officer's desk, a drug detector dog stops dead in its tracks at his luggage. When officers ask him about the bag's contents, he gives them an answer that immediately raises every alarm. He says his friend packed the bag because he was too drunk to do it himself. He claims the food inside was meant for a friend's relative, that he had no idea what was in there. Officers weren't convinced. Inside the suitcase, an unusual amount of Vietnamese mooncakes. Traditional, vacuum-sealed, perfectly presented. But something is wrong. Mooncake filling is supposed to be dark. Lotus seed paste, red bean, egg yolk. This filling was white. A drug swab confirmed what the dog already knew. Pseudoephedrine, a precursor chemical used to manufacture methamphetamine. The man was arrested on the spot by the Australian Border Force. His holiday was over, his story, already falling apart before the cake was even opened. If you like this video, just click on subscribe button